Great. We are live.
Okay.
Awesome. So I'm here today with our special guest, Renee, who is agreed to talk to me about purpose and how she's found purpose in life, where it has been surprising. And I have to say, I just got back from a walk outside. Have you been outside today?
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's so nice.
It really is.
65 or something, maybe?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Do you like the fall?
Yeah, I really do. I
Yeah,
do, especially after a hot summer, and it just sort of didn't quit. And so now it's finally here.
I know. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Do you like Halloween?
We have just moved. We lived in a house on a dead-end street for 18 years here in Durham. So for 18 years, we never had trick-or-treaters. Not one would come to our door. So
Uh,
now we're psyched to be in a neighborhood that has a whole bunch of kids in it. And we know, I'm just so ready to go buy bags of candy and pass it all out.
That's awesome. Well, I live close to Club Boulevard,
Oh, yes.
so that's a huge trick-or-treating street. We're like a block away. Last year we did hand out, and this year I think we're gonna just go participate in the fun, and we're gonna.
Oh, nice.
We did that last year. We put a a pumpkin on our porch, which of course, yeah, like honor system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work. So somebody probably, I think they just took the whole pumpkin. I think the whole thing was.
When I was a kid, they used to put buckets of water with apples out on the porch if they weren't going to be home, and you got to, supposedly dodge for an apple with your mouth. But
yeah, okay, yeah. Those of us who are trusting,
That's right.
Oh well. So thank you so much for being on here. I'm so excited to hear a little bit more about your story. I know a little, but not that much. So, where would you like to begin? Where do you feel like the story about your purpose?
I think it begins really early for me. I had been a teacher, a preschool teacher, and a Montessori teacher up until about the age of 39. I was born with cerebral palsy. And for me, it affects the left side, upper and lower. But by the time I was in my late 30s, it was really taking a toll on me. And so I had to quit work completely at the age of 39, which is really young. And it was only through my own research about adults with cerebral palsy that I finally, it took a couple of years to finally learn that that's typical for an adult with CP. By the time you reach the age of 40, it's like your body has aged to a 60 or 70-year-old.
Oh.
Because the way that your joints are having to be used day in and day out, the way God never intended. Anyway, so here I was, 39 years old. My husband was still working full time, but we had a child in elementary school. And so I just quit working, and for me, a lot of this has to do with my own faith and saying, what's next? There has to be something else next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only 39 years old. I'm only in my early 40s. And then eventually I was not getting any answers at all, despite my prayers. And so I just sort of decided that, okay, maybe I'm supposed to just be taking care of myself, trying to stay healthy, find ways of doing that, as well as being a homemaker for my husband and my son. So that's what I did. And then about 7 years ago, I've been on disability for about 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
And 7 years ago, I started coming to Bikram yoga. My niece is a teacher down in Florida, a Bikram teacher.
Okay.
She said, Renee, you really just ought to try it. So I did. And I was really grateful for the owners of the studio because they were so willing to work with me where I was at in my own disability. And really, I was getting to the point where falling is a part of my life, having falls because of the cerebral palsy. But by that point, I was falling like every other month, which is a lot when you're aging quickly. So I knew I had to do something, and I started yoga, and I started taking it and getting stronger in a variety of ways. And then 2.5 years ago, the owners asked me if I wanted to become a teacher because they were going to do a training at the studio. And I said, "Are you sure you emailed the right person?" Because this was so totally out of left field. Like, I never in a million years would have thought that I would be doing this. Because, I can only do a handful of the postures to their fullest expression. I just do the best I can with what I have, which really is what anybody is supposed to do. But yeah, and they said, "No, Renee, you know where the body's supposed to go, even if yours can't get there." So I thought, well, maybe this is the door that I've been waiting for so long. And I did the training, and I'm so grateful to Hannah and Ari for inviting me, because I knew I could never afford financially or physically. I would never be able to do the real Bikram teacher training, because it's so, A, it's expensive. B, it's all day long. It's, every single day for several weeks. And I knew that physically I could never manage that. But so it is really, and by this time my son was out of high school and on with his life, and he thought it was cool that a woman in her early 50s was actually going to become a yoga teacher. So yeah, I've been doing that for about 2.5 years, and yeah, it's a door that I never expected, and I'm able to use. So because I can't actually show the postures to the students, apparently my voice is enough, and they like hearing my voice, and I keep being told that I'm calm and I'm relaxing, and just hearing my words is enough for the students, which I never thought would happen because it's such a physical yoga. But yeah, it's just, and I'm still learning as a teacher, but it has really really opened up a door for me, and I'm just so grateful. Really, I am.
Well, and I think that, I've taken a class with Renee. Renee is an amazing Bikram teacher and does have an amazing voice. It is very relaxing. But I feel like, you probably have a different perspective than a lot of other teachers that you're able to bring to us.
Yeah. And, I've been thinking that a lot, because I really think that every teacher, who they were as a student and the experiences they had as a student informs how they teach. Mm-hmm. And some teachers, because they're, stronger, younger, more physically active, present the dialogue in that kind of way, and it speaks to people. But if you come into the room with a series of problems to begin with, and you're treated with gentleness and respect, it's just a sort of a different take. And so, some students describe Bikram teachers as Nazis, because they're just so really hardcore, and you have to do it this way, and you have to do every posture. And I that's sort of just not in my DNA, because of the experience I had as a student. And that sort of willingness to let me just be where I am has kept me in the room, and it's allowed me to have much better health than I ever thought I would 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. What connection do you think there is, if any, between your challenges that you've had in your life and then the purpose that you find? Like, do you think that's always true for us humans?
The challenge, well, yeah, yes, short answer. I think it takes a lot of reflection on not beating yourselves up about your challenges, whatever they are. Just sort of and not shaking your fists
Mm-hmm.
at what you're having to deal with, whatever it is, because we all have our challenges, whatever they are. But realize, I mean, the challenges make us who we are, even as difficult as they are to get through them. And so, and I think that, I mean, one of your questions was, how does everybody have a purpose? It was the last question on that list. And I think that if we wake up and have breath in our lungs, then we're meant to have purpose that day. And maybe our purpose is defined is to continue to look for purpose. Because if you don't have that, it's harder to claim a sense of self, and feeling like you're contributing to other people around you in some way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And so, the challenges, whatever they are, you just have to be willing to name them as your own. They're part of who you are, you are, and be surprised that those very challenges don't present a gift somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I just find it really interesting when I look back on my life and I think of, when I was in the middle of a difficult period of time. Of course, it didn't seem like there could be any possible value to that.
Yes.
I just want it to be over as soon as possible. But I think that eventually, you strengthen something, or you learn something, or you persevere, and then you come out, and not only have you been affected, but you realize that the world is, many people have probably been through a very similar thing.
Yes.
Now you can relate to those people and maybe help them, and
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I don't know. It's an interesting, it's interesting to live a while, I find,
Yes.
No?
I don't want to go back to my 20s. If I were to go back to my 20s, the thing I would say to myself is find yoga sooner. Find it sooner. Keep looking until you find it, because yeah. But other than that, there is really a beauty to old age. If you can embrace your wrinkles and your gray hair.
Yeah, they're definitely, and even middle age. I mean, like wherever you are, like it's we can always look back and see the growth that coming, and also looking forward to the future. So if we look forward to the future, what does your future look like?
Oh my goodness, that you didn't ask that question. That's a really good point. That's a really good question. What does my future look like?
How do you think you'll continue to use or find your purpose?
Well, I really hope I am I hope I always have the opportunity to be near a studio that's willing to allow me to teach, because at this point that really is my vehicle. Perhaps something else will come along that I don't see yet, and that's okay. But I know in terms of my future, I know that I'm stronger now than I ever thought I would be. I mean, really, at this point, I thought I'd be in an electric wheelchair because I was falling down so much, and I'm not, and I'm still walking, and it's
are your fall, like, how often are you falling now? Is it?
Goodness, it maybe about once every year and a half, maybe every 2 years, which
Really?
is about as far as even when I was in my teens and 20s, that's the amount of falls I was having.
Wow.
Instead of every other month. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm able, my future is just continuing to take care of myself and to prolong everything that's going well, if that makes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that's going good. And you know, like I said, this teaching job came out of left field. So at this point, I refuse to um, I refuse to not be surprised by what the future holds.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, do you have any advice for those who might be struggling to find purpose?
Well, my advice would be to just keep looking. And maybe, I mean, there were, like, when I was first out of work and really struggling with, because, you know, when you stop working, you lose a huge part of your identity because you no longer have that sort of label to attach yourself to, like, oh yeah, I'm a teacher and I do this, and you know, you could no longer have that conversation. And so you really lose a huge part of yourself. But then I kept thinking, well, okay, what other things can I do? And the things I came up with was they just required too much energy of me, physical energy. But that didn't mean I stopped looking, or at least thinking about it. And I've been told that, you know, people just going out and volunteering someplace, even just once a week for a couple of hours. Because when you are able to plug yourself in to a community, be it a yoga community or a school or a library or a homeless shelter, whatever, even just a few hours, and then you start to hear people talk and you realize, oh, it's not just me. I'm not the only one struggling. And in fact, there's probably people out there far worse off than I am. And so you have to, if your purpose isn't immediate, like taking care of family members, then then reaching out, finding some place, some new community to belong to, so that you can feel connected and realize that you're not alone.
And find some meaning, you know, find
Yes.
some meaning and know that you're valuable, you know, like we all can contribute to somebody.
Yes, absolutely. And that you have not stopped being meaningful and having something to offer others, even if you don't see it. Absolutely. It's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that so much is that we feel we don't see our own value. It's really easy to be blind to our own value.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's why it's so nice to be able to have these conversations, because I feel like then we get to celebrate, you know, the value that's around us, you know, and in all the different places that it's found, whether it's, you know, humble or grand, you know, they're all important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the energy that you provide, that you don't feel, you have no sense of, that you give off, but in fact, that people, you know, sense something about you that you just don't see. And so you're never going to see it unless you surround yourself with others.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I was reminded of my friend George Fuller. I did an interview with him a couple weeks ago, and he was saying that, you know, he was trying to find purpose and like definition of activities or goals and things like that. And eventually he realized that when he was defining it that way, he was kind of giving his power over to others. And so he changed it to be that his purpose was to live every day as himself.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about what you said, like waking up. If I wake up and I breathe, then I have purpose today. And it's, you know, it's for us to be authentic, to be ourselves, and to go through the day with open eyes and be ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And not be afraid of that. And accept, I mean, all the good parts of ourselves, as, like you said in the beginning of the conversation, those challenges, those negatives that we hold on to, because even that is part of who we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. It was lovely to talk with you and learn a little bit more about your story.
Oh,
I'm
thank
so
you.
appreciative.
Yeah, thank you for inviting
And,
me.
and I feel so grateful that you are in our studio. Anybody who's in Durham, North Carolina should come to Bikram, Durham and look for a class with Renee. I highly recommend it. And
Thank
so
you.
thank you so much, Renee. And I look forward to seeing you in the hot room very soon.
All right. Thank you. Good talking with you.